Okay, so guys, last lecture we discussed about polymorphism, right? And we took a lot of examples to make you understand what is overriding, which is called as runtime polymorphism. And we took the scenarios like why overriding should be used, and we took some example for gold account, platinum account in a bank application where overriding will become beneficial. Then we also studied that for overriding, what are the rules we need to follow. Okay, what are the rules that we are supposed to follow in order to perform overriding? And then we understood static methods you cannot override because you cannot inherit that. And one thing was very clear, that static methods inheritance is not allowed. Correct? So let us continue with few more examples from here further, and then after we will start with overloading. So let's go back to the Java project. This is where we were. So these were the examples we were discussing about, where the static methods we cannot override. Now there's one more thing you need to keep it in mind. The return type of the method should also match. Like here it is int, and I'm returning the value that is 500. Correct? What is the value I'm returning here? That is 500 here. Now save the file. See, in this case now you override and build some logic to return 1000. Observe now, when I save it, all the errors are gone. So this return type should match. Keep that in mind. Everyone clear with this part? So let us continue from here further, and we'll try to understand the next concept, which is overloading. Now what is overloading? We have already seen the concept called as constructor overloading. Can you tell me the definition of constructor overloading? We create more than one constructor provided they have different number and different type of arguments. Same way, we have method overloading. So if you just go to your notes, press Ctrl F, type here method overloading. Observe, I think we just given here the heading as overloading. So please read this loudly. Firstly, read what is given in the bracket. So this is also called as compile time polymorphism. In interview they might ask, what is the difference between runtime and compile time polymorphism? Read that loudly. So here we develop more than one method with same name. Okay, say with same name in same class, provided they have different number of arguments. Or example, let's see this here. Now I have a class here which is called as notification. Okay, what is a class called as? Notification. Fine, let's edit this particular class. Now what is this notification class all about? Whenever you're working in any projects, usually we will build notification services. Like you book the ticket. Now once the ticket booking is done successfully, one email message should come to you. One WhatsApp message should be delivered. One SMS should be delivered to you. Correct? Email, WhatsApp, SMS, these are all notifications which should go to the customer when I successfully finish a transaction, like booking a train ticket, booking a hotel, booking bus tickets, booking movie tickets, etc. So I would now require notification services here, or OTP generation. Nowadays we see that we are able to log in with OTPs. you will enter the mobile number and OTP is generated. Then once again when you enter that OTP which you got on SMS, login is successful. But how do I send that SMS? So for that, we'll use this notification service. I'll rename the class by pressing Control 1. Now let's say this particular class, I want to send email. Now there are two ways to send emailers. The first way to send an emailer is with attachment. Let us assume that public void, I have one method send email, and to the send email I'm going to send an email without attachment. Example 1, to which I'll give string to field, string subject of the email, and then string message. So right now there's a dummy method. Later in my classes I will teach you how to do this. So send email without attachment. Send email without attachment. Are you understanding? Now the same way I'm going to build here. I'm going to build here another method, but the name is same, but the number and type of arguments will change. So here I will give the path of the file to attach. Example, you go here, you go to G drive, I want to attach some file, let's say this file. If I now right click and go to properties, you go to security, this is called as a file path. This is the place from where the file will be picked up, made as an attachment to the email, and it is sent. It is made as an attachment to the email and sent. Now see here, still it is polymorphism. Why, sir? Method name is same. Both are sending emailers. But when you call this, email is sent without attachment, and when you call this, email is sent with. So is the send email feature taking more than one form? Sending email, is this feature taking more than one form? Yes or no? It is taking more than one form. Now if I now write your main, select notification, n is equal to new notification, n dot send email. I'll give some email ID. Let's say mike@gmail.com, and then let's give here some subject of the email. Let's say this is a welcome email, and the body, okay, we'll say registration completed. Okay, registration completed. Fine. Now see, this send email number of parameters matches with this. So we are going to call the first method, which is now going to, okay, run here and basically call this method which will print an output sending email without attachment. Now when I call this method, I'll have to supply one more parameter called as a file path, which is in G colon slash test slash xyz dot one image file, png file. Okay, but whenever you give a path in Java, for now remember you need to use your double slash, otherwise this would not work. For now just keep this in mind. Run this and see what is the output I'm getting it. Is our send email feature taking more than one form? So again, that is polymorphism. We have developed a feature which can take more than one form depending on the situation, and that's what is the meaning of polymorphism. Did you understand this now? Now read this definition once again loudly and tell me, are you clear with this? Correct? Different number of arguments or different type of example. Read this. Correct? So email feature is taking more than, see there's a class called as so there's a first method, how many arguments are there? Second method, how many arguments are there? Is the method name same? Now which one is this going to call? The second one. I hope this part is clear. Okay. Now let us continue with the next concept. So how many OOPS concept we have seen so far? Inheritance, polymorphism, but we have not implemented that practically. Our practicals on that is pending, which will happen in advanced classes, project classes. Okay, you cannot learn that implementation here. The implementation of this we will do it during our project execution. Okay, now understand the concepts well. The next thing we will learn final keyword in Java. Let's understand this one by one. So first point is, if you make a variable final, then its value cannot change. It is just like constants. Example, I have here main method. I am now creating one variable x is equal to 10. Is it a local variable or a non-static variable? Local variable. Sir, how did you know this? Inside the method. What is the value present in it? 10. Now what am I doing? Changing the value of x from 10 to 20. Am I able to change? Yes, sir. Do you see any error in the IDE? No, sir. Now let's do one thing. Let's make it final. Now see, am I able to change the value? What do you understand by this? If a variable is made final, then its value cannot be changed. Point number one. What is point number one? If a variable is made final, then the value of that variable cannot be changed. Okay, remove this. Am I able to change? Yes, put this back. What do you see? Error. Remove. Error gone. Did you understand the meaning? First line is clear. Now, when you change the value, it doesn't mean 10 and 20 is changing value. You change 10 with 10. That is still changing a value. Initial value is 10. I'm changing again back to able to change. Yes. Now, no. So read this first line again. Now is it clear? Make sense? Okay. Next one. If you make static, non-static variable final, then initialization is mandatory. Example, let me create here one variable, int x. What kind of variable is this? Non-static. Static int y. What kind of variable is this? Static. If I don't initialize these variables, what is the default value that will be present in it? You sure? Able to understand? So there is a default value concept here. What is present in it? 0 is present. There is no error. Do you see any error? There is no error. But now, if I make this variable final, what do you see? Why there is an error? Because if your static variable and non-static variables are made final, then auto initialization will not happen, which means automatically default values are not stored in it. You have to initialize, only then error is gone. After initializing, error is gone. Remove error. Put some value, error gone. Remove. Same thing here. Initialize with some value, error gone. Remove error. Which means whenever a variable is static and non-static, and if you make it final and you do not initialize, we will get one error called as blank field error. Can you see? It is called as blank final field error. Okay, these errors are called as what? Usually we term that as blank field error. What is blank field error? Static, non-static variables when made final, and if we do not initialize that, we end up seeing blank field error. Can you read this line now? Make sense? Now, observe here. This gives an error. Yes. Now, what this error is all about? Auto initialization will not work. These above errors are called as blank field errors. Is this clear? Next part. Now the next part is, if you make a method final, then overriding is not allowed. What is overriding? Modifying the logic of inherited method. Modifying the logic of inherited method is called as what? Overriding. So let me go here and write A, and let me change this to B, and let's press Control 1 and rename. Observe now, we have here public class A, public class B extends A, isn't it? Now observe here, I'm going to build one method, public void test syso 100. Okay, now I'll build once again the same method in child class. Is it overriding or not? Overriding. But how do we check? Very good. Use @ override notation. We have covered this in the earlier lecture. Do you see any error? Overriding is happening. I'm able to modify the logic of inherited method. It was printing 100. I'm able to change the logic to 1000. Working. But now let me make this as final. Now see. So what do you understand by this? Final methods overriding is not allowed. This final keyword you can write even after public. Are you understanding now? This is also okay. Before or after access specifier allowed. Don't use after return type. This can be interchanged. Is this clear? Now can you read this point once again? Correct? See this? Why there is an error in this program? Method is final and you're not able to override. Very good. Now let's go back. If you make a class final, then inheritance is not allowed. Okay. Currently, in this program, do you see any error? No. Inheritance is happening? Yes. Now let me make it final. Let me make it final. Now, error. Can I write final after public keyword? Yes. You see here an error. Why error? Because, very good. Because your class is final, inheritance is not allowed. Carefully read this 4 points again. Then we'll move ahead with the next concept. Okay? Read this carefully. Make sense? Okay. Now, the next important concept, which is the third pillar of OOPS, called as abstraction. We'll understand what is abstraction. We understood why inheritance. We understood what is the advantage of polymorphism. Now we should understand what is abstraction. But in order to learn abstraction, firstly you should know what are interfaces and abstract class, without which you cannot learn interfaces. So understand now, what is an interface basically all about? What does it mean? Now, what do you mean by abstract? Let me give you one simple example. See, there are two ways, okay, you can, eat your lunch. One, you will do the complete cooking by yourself at home and you will eat the food. Now that's a complete stuff that you're doing it one by one. You're purchasing vegetables, you're washing it, ingredients, what is required, vessels, everything. Step by step, you are doing the things and you are cooking the food, isn't it? But the other way is when you go to hotel, what do you do there? You just tell them what you want and you're not bothered about how is it being prepared. Correct? So you just tell them what you want and you don't worry about how is it prepared. You just go to hotel and tell, I want, okay, let's say, some sabji and roti. You'll say, I want this roti and sabji. You'll just tell that. You said what you want. And then once you do that, The rest of the thing, it's a chef work who will start working on cooking the food. So here, what am I doing is an abstract stuff. I just tell what I want and I'm not bothered about how is it done. Like many times the decision makers, they will just inform the staff, this is what needs to be done. They will not sit and implement. They'll just tell this is what needs to be done. They say what needs to be done. Now how it needs to be done, it is the staffs who are putting that efforts to implement that. Isn't it? So there is a difference between doing a complete implementation and doing incomplete stuff. When I say I want roti curry, I just said I want roti curry. Now that's an incomplete thing. It is someone else cooking the food for you. He's completing that. So interfaces are just like you define what you want and you're not bothered about how is it prepared. Now what it means is an abstract thing. Abstract means incomplete. Abstract means it is incomplete and there is nothing developed in it. The development of that is happening elsewhere. Understand, one standard definition of interfaces is what needs to be done and it is not bothered about how is it developed. Let's take one example quickly to make you understand this now. So what I'll do now, I'll just go here and firstly I will change this class keyword to interface. Now let's try one thing here. Let's go back here. Let's save all the files. And now I will build one method, public void and test. I'm putting brackets around it. Now you notice immediately I get an error. Because if you're putting brackets around the method, which means you want to build some logic in it. Which means here you're developing a logic. But interface is not about that. Interface is all about what needs to be done. So what I'm doing, I'm just removing the body of the method and putting a semicolon. So here the method is abstract. The method is what? Incomplete. What is the method here? Incomplete. Do you understand that here now? This is a very lengthy topic. You will take a lot of classes to understand this. We have just started our journey to understand interface. This will not get over in one class. Be ready. Is this clear? So now interfaces has incomplete method, abstract method. It doesn't have a complete logic. Now where is the logic of this we are going to build? So this is just like the relation between the customer and a chef. When you go to a hotel, you just tell the chef, I want this. It is a chef who is actually preparing the food. That complete logical work, the chef is doing it. And in the interface, we're just telling what needs to be done. So we're just telling in an interface, let's say, I'm creating one interface here called as notification. I'm creating one interface called as what? Notification. And in this interface now I'm telling I should be able to send SMS. Correct? Now there's no logic return here. There's no logic return here. It is all about just one SMS sending feature has to be there. I want one SMS sending feature. I'm not telling how is it developed. I want one SMS sending feature. Now on the other side, the class is the one where we implement the complete logic. So the logical part is done in the class, just like the chef. Now whenever you name a class, we go with this convention. This class has to implement that abstract work of interface. Interface has incomplete method that has to be implemented here. So whenever you give a class name, we give it as notification interface name. With that we add IMPL. What do we add? IMPL. Okay, this is the convention. Whatever interface name is given, add IMPL to it. Now this interface has incomplete method. Okay, so we are defining here what needs to be done, but we are not defining how SMS sending should happen. So now this interface is going to put one forceful contract on the class. Look, this interface has one method, so we use implements notification. Now by doing this, our interface is putting one strict contract on the class telling, look boss, I have got one incomplete SMS method. I want this method to be implemented in your class. You write the logic for sending SMS inside this class, and if you do not do that, the error will not be gone. So if you notice, it is firstly putting one contract on the class that whatever incomplete method I have, you have to complete. Again, if you go back to our customer and the chef example, customer will just tell, I want one paneer manchuri. Example, I want one paneer manchuri. Yes or no? He just said that. That's it. Now the chef has got into contract and he has to prepare that. Do you agree with that or not? The class is like this here now. Our interface puts a contract on the class, and the class, you notice, it throws an error because this incomplete method inherited to class. If you don't complete that by pressing Control 1 and add it, error will not be gone. Is the error gone now? So here we are defining what needs to be done, and here we are defining how it needs to be done. So here is where we will develop the logic to send SMS. Fine, for now, we don't know the logic writing here, so we'll just write here sending SMS. Did you understand this now? Yes. Now, until and unless you don't build this method, error is not gone. Now, when you build this method, actually, again, you're doing overriding. You're inheriting incomplete method and you're modifying that to complete method. So inherited method is still modified. That's why you see here at the rate override annotation. Some high level understanding you'd have got it. But observe here, when I read this definition, things will become little clear for you. Observe. The first thing that we are telling is an interface can consist of only incomplete methods / abstract methods in it. That is as per Java version 7. In Java 8, changes has happened, but I will include that topic in my future lectures. Okay, for now, if you are developing an interface, the method has to be incomplete. For example, my notification, again, I can have one more method, public void send email. Now, moment I do that, see, again I'm defining what needs to be done. And moment I define what needs to be done, how it needs to be developed is the class. And if you don't implement that in the class, then that error will not be gone. Moment I added here an abstract method, the class is getting into contract automatically and it has to implement that method. Sir, why we should do all of these things? So this all clarity, slowly you will be getting it. So here we'll develop the logic. We'll develop the logic, guys, okay, to send email. Develop the logic to send what? Email. So sending what? Email. Is this clear, everyone? Is the error gone? Again, if I go ahead and add here one more method, which is an abstract method, send WhatsApp. Send WhatsApp. Moment I add that, what do you see here? And if you don't implement that, then the error will not be gone. So here is where we are going to develop the logic, okay, to send what? WhatsApp. So sending WhatsApp, right? Is this clear, everyone, now? So if you read this carefully here, line number 1, an interface can consist only and abstract methods. Are you understanding now? Now, very importantly, I mentioned this word, interfaces defines what needs to be developed. See here, I'm just defining here, this notification interface is defining what needs to be developed in my project. In my project, SMS feature, send email, send WhatsApp needs to be developed. But there is nowhere defined how it needs to be developed. The steps are not given. The steps for these features implementation is done in the class. So here it is what needs to be developed, and in the class it is how it is developed. Are you understanding now? So if you now read the definition here, interfaces defines what needs to be developed and not how it is to be developed. Make sense? This is the first and the foremost difference between an interface and a class. Now, another thing is interfaces are like a contract. If any class implements an interface, those incomplete methods of interface inside the class should have been developed. If you don't develop any one method, example, you're not developing the send email, you see there's an error. Because the job of this class is now all that incomplete method of interface, that development has to be done here at any cost, right? Has to be done at what? Any cost. So read this line firstly. Read this point. Correct? Interface defines what needs to be developed and not how it needs to be developed. Are you understanding, everyone? Next, interfaces are like that a class follows, and the class has to implement these methods. Okay, so we have the first example. Can you tell me why there is an error here? Because a class cannot have method body. Correct? So there is an error. Now let's go to example 2. Is this correct? Why? Because the method is incomplete. Allowed. Now we have your notification service. That's the name of my interface. What needs to be implemented? See here. But now you go here, check this out. The name of my class is interface name, and to that I'm appending what? IMPL. So whenever we see naming conventions like this, immediately we understand in the projects that okay, it is implementing some interface called as notification service. Observe now, when you implement, how many methods needs to be developed here now? 3 methods. I'm just writing some dummy logic in it as of now. And then you're creating object of notification service IMPL and calling it one by one. I hope this part is clear. Okay. See, whenever you're building any module in your project, let's say you're building one hotel booking system, right? Now in a hotel booking system, there are so many modules. One module is to do with property owner. Now as a property owner, I can upload my property details in the website. So I'll take the photos of my property, and then what I will do is, after taking the photos of my properties, I will be uploading these photos in the website. After taking the photos of my property, I will be uploading these photos in my website. Which means when I log into, let's say, bookings.com, as a property owner, when I log in, what all features should be there? Correct? We require a high level thinking on it. Yes or no? Directly you will not start writing the code. So I will firstly define one interface called as property service. Correct? Property service. This is what I'll be doing it. Control 1 and rename the file. And then after this, I will be now thinking on what all things should be here. First is public void add property. So this add property is all about, okay, adding a property. Let's say I have a hotel and I want to list my hotel in bookings.com so that people can start the booking. Now I decided what needs to be done. What needs to be done? A feature needs to be developed using which a property owner can add a property. Did you understand why this concept of interface now? Second, the property owner can also delete property. Correct? A property owner can also view property. He can see his own property. A property owner can also update the property details. So we have add property, delete property, view property, and then what? So now what we have done, we have defined what needs to be developed in this module. Correct? Now comes is how it needs to be developed. So I'm going to take property service, put that here and write down IMPL. And this implements, firstly let's rename this particular class. And this implements, right, property service. Now see, we have defined what needs to be developed, and then after we are putting that contract on a class telling, look, this is what you need to develop, this is a contract I'm implementing on you, meaning all incomplete methods are inherited, I'm overriding and completing it. And then we are one by one building logic, like how to add the photos of the property, how many photos can be added up, what is the price for booking, how many rooms they have got, what all dates it is available. That all logic we will start building here. isn't it? So we will now just print here, okay, added, just a dummy line I'm adding it, because there's no logic right now which we are building. It's a concept that we are understanding. Now you can do one thing is write the main method, create the object of property service, property service, IMPL, property service, IMPL service is equal to new property service IMPL. And now I'm going to press Control 1 here. Okay, let's see what is the thing. Property service IMPL, property service IMPL. Yeah, spelling was not correct. And now service dot add property, service dot delete property, service dot service dot what, view property, and then we have service dot update property, update property, right, update property. Is this clear? Okay, I hope this part is clear for all of you. Yes. Now let us save this particular thing, right click, run as Java application. Observe here now, what do you see here? Did you all get this basic idea of interface? What is the basic idea? See, little bit your mind will work more clearly whenever you do a planning, that this module what features should be there. Otherwise you directly start your work with a class and it is like without doing any planning. Correct? It's always better that what all features has to be there, we do a high level planning of that and then we start implementing it so that we don't miss out any feature. Yes or no? Imagine you are constructing a building without a plan, you constructed it, then you realized the provision for lift is not given. So how do I put lift into my building? Things went wrong. But if you had done a high level planning, a design document you had prepared that look, my building should have so and so things, so and so stuff, then based on that when you start your constructions you will not go wrong. Yes or no? Are you understanding what am I telling you? So once again let us read this part now. Okay, please read this loudly. Is this point clear? Second point, can you now read this? Correct. Third point, right? You will not get complete idea right away. Do not even expect that, because you're still in the beginning phase of your learning programming language. Today, where you're learning classes and objects, what is Java, when we start working on projects, that is where you will realize that how my journey started and how my thinking right now is. That complete transition, okay, from the basic level to a level where at least I can start understanding someone else programs, start understanding the coding logic. It will take time, okay, because some students will ask, give me one practical example on this. You cannot, it's impossible, because that maturity building has not happened yet. Okay, so observe now all the examples taken. Let's quickly go through that one by one. Implements is a keyword used to inherit methods of interface to a class. Are you understanding now? That's why we use the word implements, Praveen. Now, let's see the first example. Again, we will recall everything. Will this work or give an error? Error. Will this work or give an error? Work. Now, what is this we are doing here? So clearly I'm defining my notification service, what needs to be developed. Now, notification service IMPL. Here is where we are defining how it is being developed, what logic I'm writing. Yes or no? Correct. Next, you can see here. What is the interface name? So clearly we are defining what needs to be developed. And here is where my class is getting into the contract of an interface. The interface is now forcing this class so that the class has complete methods in which logic building is happening. And then we start calling that one by one. I already talked about drawback of inheritance, which results in tightly coupled. Okay. Now we will have some more examples on interfaces in our coming series of lecture. What do you say? Is this enough for today? Yes, do you want to practice this much? So then I will see you the next class, that is tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll continue further with interfaces and we'll take many more examples on the same. Okay.